Great. Hello, everybody. This is Alex from Amass and Lluís. We're excited to have you here in our webinar, where we're going to show you how you can use the Amass MCP for your life science work across the different AI tools you're using. Just a little bit of background about us as the speakers here. So my name is Alex. I have a background in bioinformatics. Been working at the intersection of life science, machine learning, and AI for the last 10, 12 years. Worked at Novo Nordisk for some time, then at a health tech company called Corte here in Copenhagen, and have been building Amass with our amazing team here for the last three years. So yeah, I'm really excited to actually show you today what we've built. The MCP we're going to show you is super powerful, and we have brought Lluís here today to also walk you through a lot of demos and show you a lot of hands-on what you can actually use the MCP for and all the different skills you can build on top of it. So yeah, Lluís, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello everyone and welcome. My name is Lluís and I come from Barcelona, where I did the bachelor's in biomedical engineering and then moved here to Denmark for studying the master's in human-centered AI at DTU. And then since September, been working at Amass at the intersection of my two backgrounds, where I get to combine biomedical with state-of-the-art AI in that sense. I'm excited to have you here, of course.
Awesome. Thank you, Lluís. Yeah, so just a quick look at the agenda we have for today. So we're going to start out by basically introducing the problem that the Amass MCP is solving for you, walk you through using the MCP, and then very quickly go to the first demo where Lluís will show you hands-on how to set up and run a basic workflow using the Amass MCP. We're going to use Claude AI as an example tool, but actually the same will work in ChatGPT, Codex, Claude Code, and a lot of other tools that you're using for your daily AI workloads already. Afterwards, we're going to show you how to build. You can build your own skills to encapsulate your own workflows and competencies into AI. And then after about 45 minutes, we'll wrap up and also have some time for a Q&A session at the end. So any questions that you have along the way, feel free to drop them here in the chat and we'll circle back to them at the end. Awesome. So let's jump into the problem. One of the core problems is that a lot of AI tools, they really struggle with giving reliable citations, which are core for life science. And they often do web search, but web search, of course, isn't research, right? So if they do searching the web, often they fall prey to showing you links that are maybe popular, that may sound credible, but often they're kind of optimized as web search works to kind of, show you hits that are just engineered to be ranking high on web search engines. On the other hand, there's often no way to actually get back to easily find the paper, the underlying trial, and look at that directly. A lot of the sources and citations that are found by web search are, for example, showing you marketing posts, blog posts, increasingly also AI-generated content or summaries, and it's really hard to get back to the core, the actual evidence that is needed for research, and of course, super critical in life sciences. So we've built at Amass over the last about 3 years is a specific data foundation for life science to enable AI to be successful in the life sciences. For the MCP that we're going to show today, we actually have 2 of our cores integrated there. So our cores are specific, curated, structured corpora, so sets of data that we have available here. One is the BioMedCore, which is our collection of publications, and publications enriched with information about citations, structured information about the author, information about the journal that was published in, and the journal quality, etc. So the BioMedCore, it's also linked to the TrialCore, so AI can easily navigate between papers and trials. And in the TrialCore, we have more than 575,000 clinical trials from clinicaltrials.gov. We have critical information such as sponsors, interventions, things about inclusion criteria, etc. All the different metadata around the trial as well. And again, they then link back to the articles in BioMedCore. We'll give you a sneak peek of at our upcoming roadmap as well at the end. We're working on different cores and making them available in the MCP as we're talking, actually. So excited to share that a bit later on. What the Amass MCP is, it's essentially a way for your AI tools such as Claude, Claude Code, Claude AI, Claude Cowork, but also ChatGPT, Codex, but also Microsoft 365 Copilot. A lot of AI tools, they support this protocol that is called MCP to essentially allow AI agents to interact with knowledge outside that agent. And that interaction is key. So it's allowing AI to get knowledge from other places. And we're going to say the word MCP a lot of times here. Don't be scared. It is a technical term, but it's just an abbreviation for Model Context Protocol. So think about it as giving an AI model the right context to give you the right evidence and the right knowledge to get on with your task and be successful in getting your research outputs done. Yes. So all of what we're going to show you works actually with your existing Amass account and your subscription there. So there's no additional sign up needed. If you don't have an Amass account and subscription, you can just set it up together with setting up the MCP when you're doing that for the first time. Yes, so we're going to talk about two levers here that the MCP is offering. Maybe also just for a bit of information here. So sometimes MCPs are actually called connectors. That's what they're called in Claude, which we're going to show you in a minute. In ChatGPT, they're just called apps. So, we might also use these terms a little bit interchangeably here. But MCP, connectors, ChatGPT apps, it's all the same thing. And they're essentially about giving AI capabilities, giving them the capability to extract or find knowledge in other sources. So there's, of course, MCPs like the Amass MCP that gives you information about papers and trials. But there's also MCPs, for example, for your Google Calendar that you can use then to summarize the meetings you have today, things like that. So it's a general protocol to interact with other knowledge bases and sources of information. So think about it as a lever of giving AI the capability to connect with external knowledge. And that's the first thing. And then we're going to come back in a minute after the first demo to think about skills and what skills allow you to do. But yeah, I think that was already the very quick introduction to an MCP and what we're trying to do here and why we're doing it. And then, yeah, I would love to hand it over to you, Lewis, to show us all how this is working and show some nice examples.
Yeah, I'll take it from here and I'll quickly show you basically how to connect Claude in that case, but it was, as Alex said, with any LLM you use. It takes 1 minute, literally. You go to Customize, click Connectors, then click this plus button here, and then add Custom Connector, and then basically you type Amass, type the URL that you can find in our website, click Add, and then this will require you to log in to the Amass account, and it will appear here. Basically, once this is connected, and you can see it then as here, it's like toggled on. What can you use that for? How do you, what value brings the Amass connector into your normal day-to-day usage of these platforms? So let's first test it with Find Me 5 recent, for example, peer-reviewed papers on map in Alzheimer's, U2 or higher, and not retracted. So the first glance, nothing changed. We are using the Claude, in that case, the LLM, as we always used. We prompted something, and then Claude is generating an answer that will appear in chat. But basically what happens behind the scenes, and now Claude doesn't seem to want to work. What happened behind the scenes, basically, is that, let me show with an already. What happens behind the scenes is that Claude, what it does, it loads Amass in context, then it queries whatever you ask it for, and then Amass itself returns a response. And then again, if the question requires you to kind of, check BioMedCore, but also TrialCore. Claude itself on the same like message will prompt it or like will query Amass behind the scenes. And then at the end of the day, if you collapse this, the message is the same. You ask something, you got an answer, and then the answer is grounded on actual life sciences evidence in that case. And then you can build on top of that. Then you can like follow up and be like, okay, I'm a CI strategist. I want to do that, whatever. And then Claude kind of guides you a bit. And then again, I say, okay, I want to build this. And then Claude itself is going to load the tasks. And then behind the scenes called Amass, the questions that it uses will be used as context, and then we'll give you at the end a final answer that is grounded on that evidence. And let's try it again. Let's see. Just 1 second. Maybe it's because it's duplicated here. That doesn't want to get new messages. But basically, let's try with this. Let's showcase this example. For example, fetch this trial number, and then from this trial number, show me which papers it references, and then pull metadata on one of these papers. So basically, like Claude knows that it has Amass activated, as we can see here in the connectors. And then it said, okay, let's try to fetch this trial first. So from the prompt, it extracted the value that the trial has, and then it got the whole complete data that Amass returns from that trial. And then in that response, there's all the papers that it references to. And then Claude read, okay, it has 7 papers. And then as the prompt asks, it's pull metadata on one of those papers. So Claude itself used that previous answer to then call again Amass MCP, and then say, okay, from that paper, give me all the metadata. And then at the end of the day, again, what we have here is a complete answer. We prompted something to Claude. Claude gave us an answer. Nothing changed from how we use LLMs on a daily basis. What changed behind the scenes is that now we gave this grounded evidence layer to Claude that whenever a prompt has something life sciences related, use the tools that Amass has in order to get grounded information on that. And then, use that and build on top of that, follow up, go more complex, whatever. This is just like the baseline. These are the basics of how Claude interacts with our Amass MCP. And then the rest of the webinar will be how we can leverage these basic building blocks and get to build more complex workflows, get to solve more complex tasks, and get to handle tasks that before, like 1 year ago, were not imaginable to be solved. So I'll hand over to Alex. He will continue introducing a bit more what skills are in Claude and so on, and then get back to more complex demos here.
Yes, thank you very much. And good catch, Lluís. It's always a little bit of a gamble when we're doing the live demos. Fortunately or unfortunately, actually, Anthropic released a new model yesterday. So we're kind of maybe expecting some technical hiccups today, and it actually happened to be the case. But let's hope that the rest will be smooth. So again, just to summarize what we've seen here, it is setting up the Amass MCP very easy, dropping essentially one URL, logging into your account, and then you're authenticated and you can use your normal Amass account and subscription. And on the other hand, then we've seen how Claude can search for keywords, search for context around specific antibodies or clinical trials, and then get reliable and grounded information, get the real trials and the information into the conversation, into the what's technically called the context window, and then work from that, and basically also interact across the different cores because they're very well connected. As I mentioned earlier, you can go from a paper to a trial and vice versa, and all the things that we have in the pipeline are also going to be connected this way. So based on this very simple workflow, you can actually do a lot of things already. But the core challenge here that we're seeing is that if you want to do this in a repeatable manner, and also in a way that you can share with your team, it's actually not the most efficient way to just stick with one conversation and one conversation thread, because there's might be a lot of copy and pasting going on. So yeah, we'll go into a little bit of how you can actually address this using skills. So I'll just go to the next slide. Yes. So you can think about skills. Again, skills is what the technical community here agreed on for the time being. It might change as well in half a year from now. No one knows exactly, but skills, you can think about them as documents that encapsulate competence. In life sciences, I think they're also very similar to what you might have seen in an SOP, except that the SOP is not directed primarily as at human readers, but at AI tools to follow. And they describe specific workflow that the AI tool can follow to achieve a certain task. And really, again, the problem that a skill is solving is that 30-minute problem, where you or someone on your team spend 30 minutes in really good conversation with an AI tool, but it's very, very hard to repeat that every single time. Using connectors, using MCP and skills actually solve this. So think about this as onboarding a new colleague, maybe. A new person on your team, you just don't give them access to the Microsoft 365 or your Google Drive or whatever you're using right away and expect them to be, figured out by themselves. But you also either give them very specific SOPs that encapsulate how you're doing things in your team or in your organization, or you just sit down with them and explain, these are the different steps we're going through when we're looking for a certain when we're doing a competitive analysis or a research task or something else, right? So you encapsulate this and explain this. So skills are very much going in this direction, and they allow you also to bring in your unique competence as experts in biotech, pharma, and the life sciences here. Yes. So a skill is really, it's very simple. It can be, let me just get a laser pointer. It can be a single document. We're going to show you one in a minute. It's using a format called markdown.md, which is essentially just a plain text file with some nice ways of structuring headlines and things like that. But it's all actually not a requirement. The skills, they can reference additional documents, so they can actually be quite elaborate. You could think about them as referencing other skills, referencing other documents in different places. They could also reference maybe existing documents if you have them as templates. One thing we're using internally, for example, is skills to help us make, for example, PowerPoint presentation or write documents. And there it's often very helpful to have in the skill a reference to an example that can be used as a template. But we're going to show you how you can use this in a life science context in a minute. Again, the idea is really connectors giving access and skills actually teach the work and allow you to bring in competence, write it down, version control it, and then make it, you could say, replayable by an AI tool, also by different people then on the team. So you can also share these skills with one another. And you can improve them over time, of course. So the anatomy of a skill might be that you're just explaining different phases of a skill. So you might start out with saying, okay, please, if I'm using this skill, I want you to make sure, and you in this case is the AI agent, I want to make sure that the scope is properly defined. And if it's not defined, ask me a question back. So in a competitor landscape analysis, for example, in the skill, you might in the very beginning, in the first section, say, okay, unless the therapy area and a main competitor overview, unless if I've not given you that, please ask me for that. Otherwise, you don't progress, because otherwise you don't have enough context to actually solve the task at hand. So this works very well in a skill. Then you can describe in the next section in the skill, for example, then we do a search for publications. You can encapsulate everything you want to have in here. Again, the Amass API, for example, allows you to filter on publication dates, citation counts, and also quality of the journal, for example, or even specific authors and author names. This can be then encapsulated in the publication section. Then you might go on and say, okay, for trials, in my competitive landscape, I want to only include trials in phase 1 and phase 2, for example. And then at the end, you can describe, okay, this is what I want my brief to look like. Do I want this as a text file, a text output in the chat window? Or do I want to make a PowerPoint presentation or a Word document? And here's an example here. And if you then have it maybe connected to a Microsoft Office account or to your Google Drive, and you can also reference template documents and say, okay, well, this is what it should look like. This is what good looks like for an example. Let me run that and make that part of the skill for the next time I'm running an analysis like this. So very simple to set up. And Lluís will show you a few skills that we actually have prepared. So I'm really excited to see this. Again, if you have any questions along the way, drop them in the chat. And I'll hand it over to you, Lluís, and then come back to you all afterwards.
Yes. Hello again. So now let's try to see how, based on the building blocks that we showed before, on how Claude simply with a question and answer can call Amass, how we can leverage that and build more complex stuff by using what Alex explained about skills. A skill is basically can be called by this command, and then we can invoke as simple as here. And basically what the skill has is this set of instructions is basically a markdown file, which contains like all this text. And as Alex clearly explained, this gives you as much freedom as you want on which set of instructions do you want to specify in that skill, and how complex, how detailed, and how exhaustive do you want it to be. Similitude with this, if you've been using Amass in the past, is what we tried to do with the templates. That basically is like when there's a repetitive workflow that you need to do for different assets, different companies, different therapies, and the workflow is always the same, the research strategy is always the same. You can encapsulate that in a skill, and then whenever you need it, just call it by this / command. And if we take a look at this skill that we prepared for this demo today, we can see that basically here in the skill, what we have like defined first is kind of a workflow where we say like, okay, first show me every read through tide trial in phase 2 and phase 3, then do a publication sweep with this like criteria with using BioMedCore, and then from those papers, pick the top 8 most frequent authors and fetch papers from that they also have published around that area, and then from the highest cited paper, again capture which trial course it references to, and then output all the if it has papers linked to, also like fetch them, and then do a quality control on them, and then assemble everything together. And then once the research strategy, the workflow is done, we can also specify how we want the output to look like. In this case, we said that we want an Excel file with 5 different tabs, and then first one to contain an executive summary, a trial portfolio, whatever, like all that it's defined here. And basically a skill, as Alex said, is like encapsulates complex workflows, encapsulates complex research strategy that probably you have defined by Q&A, by iteration, and so on. You found something that works and you want to make it reusable for other components. And now let's see how it's working in live. We invoke the skill here, and then what Claude did first basically is like load the tools it has, and then create this set of tasks here, because now as we saw in the skill itself, the workflow that requires is way more complex. So Claude has these capabilities to kind of structure all the research in a more structured way. And then it called again Amass for like the phase 3 trials, as we said, and got all these results, called Amass again with the phase 2 trials, and then did like this BioMedCore publication sweep. Then from that, it reflected again, and then it pulled, as we said, these 8 top cited KOLs. And then from that, it pulled from the papers from them, it pulled some metadata also to to be used from the answer. And then it says here like, all good here. Now let's build this output as we wanted to. And then it invoked another skill that is like inherent in the Claude capabilities, that is like the Excel skill. And basically this allows you to, in any situation, to specify if you want an Excel file for that case to get the Excel file exactly as delivered. And then Claude orchestrates all this Excel generation. So it's like as you have defined it. But then, of course, all the data that is used to populate this Excel file comes from all the different Amass queries that we have done along the way and specified in this skill. So yeah, while this is working, it's quite a complex Excel, so it takes a bit. I'll show also you, meanwhile, another example on how, now it's doing here the validation, on how we can build these skills from scratch, or how, like, what if you already have a template? What if you have a document where like there's a research strategy clearly defined? Or what if you already like have in mind super clear what you want to be defined? You can use what's called like skill creator, and then based on this document attach, extract the research strategy and use it to build a detailed skill. And then you could attach here a document, you could let Claude to work, and then you would end up with another skill on top of that. If we go back to the previous example, now it finished here, we see that it actually delivered exactly the Excel as we had specified, with this like 5 different tabs, and then each tab is built from all these like Amass goals. And this is already like a super good starting point that before would have taken so long to get to. And also like at the beginning of LLM days, probably like half of the data would be hallucinated. So now with this, what we can ensure is that if we define clearly what we want to do, and which is the research strategy to follow, we get an initial starting point. And then here, again, I always like to say that, of course, it's nice if everything works in one shot. But maybe here you spot something off. Maybe here you think that something's missing. And that's why it's so important to still, like with AI tools and so on, bring the human in the loop, bring the human expertise here and be like, dig deeper on the trials you found and ensure that whatever, like you can bring your expertise here. You can bring your intuition. You can also like make Claude revisit whatever is needed, and then that will call again Amass, do another like different like MCP calls and ensure that iterate on it from that. Then the second example was how also we can how we can build a skill from a Q&A interaction that we liked. And then, sorry, that's not the one I wanted to show. That's the one, like that skill, for example, comes from when we used some Q&A, and let's do it live so we can also see it. Basically, it's like, okay, use the Amass MCP and check on this paper, and then show me which UFO type it has, how many citations does it have, which is the retraction status, and if there's any linked trial to it. And then, okay, we let Claude generate an answer. Again, it will pull Amass connector into context, load the tools, fetch all the data from this PMID that we specified, then use that to get the trial from it, and then provide us an answer. But what if we want to iterate on this answer? Now we say, okay, good. But now also fetch every reference that this paper has, check if each of the references that this paper shows, if there's any retracted and so on, and then write this Word memo that I can then deliver with my mates or with whatever. And then again, now it's a bit more complex. Now it's like 18 references on Cascade that it needs to check. And then it will load, of course, then create this progress here. And then it will fan out all these 18 references in parallel in order to get the data as we want. Basically, now it's using Amass for every citation that it found here. Let's get it to work. But one of the nice parts is that when you know what you're exactly doing, you can ask for more ambitious tasks. You don't need to do like, okay, one at a time, like fetch me this paper, then so on. You can like use it for like things like in here that cascades to all the 18 references that it has. And then once it gets all the data, again, ask for the concept is the same. The building block is always the same. Ask either BioMedCore or ask TrialCore and get all the data that it's needed to bring you to the next step. And then while this is running a bit, again, it's a bit complex scenario. I'll also, here it finished. I also show you in parallel another demo, and we'll get back to this. Here in this demo is like, okay, normal user wants to check if creatine helps cognition in older adults, and it has found this paper, like it wants like anchor in it, and then walk each citation graph and validate that each paper contains this, and then give me a PDF evidence trace. That's a simple prompt that if you dig deeper into it, it's quite a complex task. Again, how Claude handles this. It loads the tools, it does some initial research on the paper that we specify, and then it runs sub 4 agents into this, in order to solve this. And then each sub agent fetches as many papers and like, again, following this like citation cascade that it says. So it's like a total of 181 steps. Takes a while, but we can like leave it running. And then at the end of the day, we can go back here and then get the PDF exactly as we wanted to. After like Claude, together with Amass, has done all this back and forth, all this like agentic reasoning with this like science evidence in order to get the exact deliverable as we wanted to. And now, if we go back here, we say that, okay, we got this, but now how do we, okay, we like this workflow. We got this, and then we see that, okay, this PMID produced this reference integrity memo, which gets a green flag. And now we want to save this because we want to show this build as skill. So I can reuse that. And then it's as easy as it looks. We just like tell that Claude that we like this, like we want that if we give another PMID to get the same reference integrity memo, 1 page, and then use that on top of of this like build, like I already built that skill beforehand, but like let's build a variant, because then it will capture exactly the nuances of this back and forth that we did here. And then again, Claude asks, what do we want it to do? And then we said that instead of the other one, let's patch multiple papers. But basically the principle is the same. Now, instead of entering and just calling a skill, we ask a question, we followed up, and then at the end of the day, we like the output. And as we like the output, we said, okay, build a skill so I can reuse that. Build a skill so like my colleague can enter here, can open a new task, and then be like, I must say check. And then it takes a different PMID. And then again, that's all what your colleague needs to do if he wants to leverage all this back and forth, or like all this workflow that you created beforehand. And then again, this will do the same. We'll load the tools, call Amass on the back of the scenes, and then get you back with this 1-page Word document. Yes, and basically like there's as many possibilities as your creativity and as your needs and as your profile requires to. Just to show you another example, for example, here we used again Claude connected with Amass to say, okay, find me all face-to-face trials that are currently recruiting, and then validate the answer group and provide me with an Excel pipeline tracker. And then again, Claude did all the different tools. But at the end of the day, what we have is the output as we want it. The output contains all the things that we asked for. And then it even flagged if some papers are, some trials are, like, as it says here, not fully aligned with the needs. And then it says, want me to schedule this as a monthly refresh so you get an updated tracker automatically? I said yes. So what it did is this. Then every month, or as often as you specify, Claude itself will rebuild this crash clinical trial pipeline grounded on the Amass MCP, and then provide you with this Excel file I just show you here. And that's another way, like, to integrate Amass together with the Claude into your weekly work and monthly work in that sense, and build outputs that align with your needs and are grounded on actual evidence. And just to wrap up this demo, also Claude has this called live artifacts, which is basically a small app on top of all this. And basically what I said is build me a cowork artifact that monitors GLP-1 receptor papers. And then what Claude did is this, which basically every time I open this dashboard, it will prompt, it will use the Amass connector to fetch new data, and then it will say, okay, these are all the new trials in phase 3 that you missed from last time you opened this. And then, of course, I can use this, and then this will link me to the clinical trial page and so on. Please use it, connect MCP to Amass, as I wanted to demo here at the beginning. If you don't know how to use it, just ask Claude. Claude will help you figure it out. Use it for your research workflows, use it for daily basis, use it for whatever you can come up with. And at the end of the day, what you can do is keep using Claude, keep using ChatGPT, keep using any LLM that you use as you always used it. But now there's this added layer of grounded scientific evidence that whenever is needed, whenever the task requires to get some grounded evidence, it will actually call Amass. Amass will provide you with the actual grounded data, and then Claude can reflect, can reason, can compound on top of that. And at the end, allows for super powerful output, super deliverables that one year ago would have not been possible at all without this tool. So it's combining the state-of-the-art functionality and capabilities of Claude with our grounding layer of evidence that Amass uses in a super simple, intuitive way. And now I'll hand over again to Alex. Just one last thing. Here, now it finished creating the skill. And then if we want to use it, it's just save skill. Okay, in that case, we will have to give it a description. But basically, skills live in this place, and then skills again is this markdown file that you can edit directly, and so on, and invoke as many times as you want to. So that's it on the demo side. Now, if you want to test something else,
Yes.
let us know, and we will follow up on it.
Yeah, great. Thanks a lot, Lluís. A lot of very interesting stuff. Also, some of it was new to me as well. So it's also nice to learn some of the new capabilities here, especially the scheduling and the dashboards artifacts thing. I haven't used that personally. Also to sum it up again, we've seen skills encapsulating the competence you have into your own workflows. Some of them, they have literally done hundreds of steps, and I think and running sub agents and all kinds of stuff. So stuff that you really don't want to do manually. So skills are a really good way of encapsulating those workflows. Again, citation quality, grounding the outputs in real documents. That's kind of the key here, and that's where the skills then work really nicely together with the Amass MCP. But also, I just want to say as a final note, a lot of this might seem overwhelming to you. I think the most important thing that we're also repeatedly saying with any user we're talking to is just getting started. And then you can iterate over time. You don't need to use all of what we're showing here today in your very first session. We're also going to share, of course, a recording here where you can watch it later on, start with baby steps and see what works for you and see how you can iterate and kind of use these tools in your workflow more and more over time as they benefit you, of course. Yeah, so we'll just round it off here very quickly with just, again, explaining the two levers that we have shown here. One is the connector, the MCP, giving AI tools capabilities to talk with the Amass BioMedCore and TrialCore to get reliable evidence. And the second lever is building your own competence into skills, share them with your team, and define a workflow once. Iterate on, of course, if you want, but after defining it, use it as many times as you want, schedule it, have it send you an update. All these kinds of things are then possible. So a quick look at our roadmap. What do we have on the roadmap? What we're going to release very soon is new course incorporating drugs, so structured information regarding compounds and approved drug products linked to papers and trials, but then also at the same time linking them to FDA and EMA labels and searchable submission documents, such that they are all connected to each other and all available in the Amass MCP and the Amass platform, but also in the Amass API, actually, if you've been here watching our last webinar. And if you are maybe a developer, of course, also that will come in the API, but also in the MCP. So yes, so finally, we would like to wrap it up. One of the things we're going to send out is, of course, a link as well. So amass.tech/MCP. I'll just show you very quickly what the website looks like. So what we see here, I'm at amass.tech/MCP. Here you have different ways of connecting with the tools you're using. For ChatGPT, it's actually even easier. What we have there is actually we are part of the ChatGPT App Store. So you can essentially just click this link and then you end up directly in ChatGPT where you need to connect or where you can connect to the Amass MCP. So very easy. Another thing I wanted to highlight here, if you go to this website and scroll up a little bit, we actually have one example skill here as well that you can download and make available. We call this the Biomedical Evidence Scout that works nicely across the different Amass MCP endpoints. So that's the thing maybe to get started. Look at the skill, how it's written, but also use it as a base for your own iteration if you want that. So it's a really good example to get started. And then also we have a few prompts here to help you both with the MCP, but also if you have the skill to use the skill to get a new review of clinical landscape targets or also competitive/BD intelligence. Yes, I'll share the slide again. And I think in this case, we'll just switch to the, I'll bring you on, Lewis, as well. Switch to the presenter view if you unmute yourself. Awesome, nice, cool. So we're here now. Any questions you have, drop them in the chat. We'll keep an eye on that. There was one that already, actually one issue I have for you, Lewis, because you're kind of, I see you using the MCP a lot, and you've been very, very impressed over the last weeks, as well as also the models have gotten better. Can you say something around what impressed you most? Was there a specific example, maybe something that didn't work before but now works that comes to mind?
Yes. So for me, what I like the most about the MCP is that I always have it there, and I don't even need to think about it constantly. In the sense that I can work on my daily habits and daily routine, use Claude as I was using it before, but now Claude has this layer that if the question requires some grounded evidence, it will actually use Amass, pull the data that requires to answer that properly, and then give me a better answer than what I had before. So that's for me what's the ease of use is what's one of the nicest thing of like connecting MCPs like this one, but also MCPs in general, in the sense that you can have them on and then you don't need to worry about them every time. You don't need to specify also like use Amass MCP or stuff like this, because Claude usually like intelligently itself like uses it when needed and when not, in that sense.
Great. Yes. Cool. Then we have another question here. What connectors, skill combos would make the biggest impact on your work? Okay. Maybe I can answer that. So I'm just going to interpret this as made the biggest impact. I think for me personally, besides of course also some of the things that Lluís mentioned, making slides has been super helpful, based on a slide template that we have made and are sharing in our team. And of course, not making slides without any context, but kind of what works really well, at least in my personal workflow, is kind of giving the content in a bullet list with like sub bullets and flesh it out as much as possible, but then actually leaving the work around aligning things on different slides, maybe coming up with a catchy headline and things like that, leaving that to the AI to get to the 80%, and then doing like the 20% on tweaking the exact wording and all that kind of stuff later on manually. But that for me has been a huge thing, because otherwise I'm really not enjoying, to be honest, kind of moving things around on slides, and I think maybe people might see themselves in that. Anything else? Let me see. When will the new course be available? So that's DrugCore and linked, or drug information in Amass on drugs in a structured manner, and the corresponding regulatory documents from the FDA and EMA. Very soon. We have the first version internally. Of course, we want to test this right now, make sure that it gives good responses, works together well with both the Amass app, the MCP, and the API. But it will be available very soon. Of course, if you have an account, you'll get a notification that we'll send out an email once that's available. But I think that was it. So again, go to amass.tech/MCP. Feel free to drop us, of course, an email as well, if you have any questions at hello@amass.tech. But yeah, I think then I would like to, on behalf of the whole Amass team, would like to thank you all for joining on this Friday, I guess, afternoon for most of you. We'll send you the recording as well, but thanks for joining. Have a great weekend, and try out the Amass MCP and build your own skills.
Yes, thanks for being here.
Awesome. Goodbye.